6:41 in the morning. You reach for the meter before your feet hit the floor. You already know, somewhere in your chest, what it's going to say. You didn't eat past 7, you took your medication, you walked after dinner, and the number staring back at you is still 148, still 161, still wherever it was yesterday and the day before. That number is the most honest thing in your house. It doesn't care how hard you tried. It just reports what it found. I know that moment. I've lived inside it. And I want to tell you what I eventually learned was actually happening during those hours while I was sleeping, because nobody ever connected it to what I was doing right before bed. Not my doctor, not the pharmacist, not anyone. And once I understood it, the thing that helped was sitting in my pantry the whole time. Something most people would never think to reach for at night. Something some doctors will tell you to avoid. I'll show you exactly what it is and why it works. But first, I need you to understand the mechanism, because without the mechanism, you'll try it for 3 days and stop. I'm 83 years old. I walk without a cane, I sleep through the night, and I wake up with a head that's clear. My morning number moves in a range that doesn't make me afraid to look at the meter. I'm not telling you I'm exceptional. I'm telling you I paid attention to the hours nobody talks about. Midnight to 6. When your body is doing something your endocrinologist's 14-minute appointment will never have time to explain. So stay with me, because what I found changed the part of my day I had the least control over, that number before breakfast. Here's what I want you to do right now. Drop your fasting blood sugar number in the comments below, just the number. And if you're on metformin or any other medication, add the word yes. I read these comments. And what I'm going to cover today applies very differently depending on where that number is sitting. Now, let me tell you what's happening in your body at 2 in the morning. Your liver is one of the most misunderstood organs in diabetes care. Most people think of the pancreas. Not enough insulin, blood sugar goes up. That's part of the story. But the liver has its own conversation happening every single night. Between roughly 2 and 4 in the morning, your body starts preparing for the day. Hormones rise. One of their jobs is to tell the liver, release stored glucose, get the body ready to move. This is normal, this happens in everyone. But here's what changes after 60 with insulin resistance. In a younger body with healthy insulin sensitivity, the liver releases a measured amount of glucose. Insulin responds cleanly, and the cells absorb it. The balance holds. In an older body where the insulin response is weakened, where decades of elevated glucose have changed how the cells respond, that liver release doesn't get absorbed cleanly. It sits, it accumulates. And when you wake up at 6:41 and press your finger to the meter, you're looking at hours of accumulated glucose that your body released while you slept, before you ever touched a piece of food. This is called the dawn phenomenon. Research describes a predictable hormonal window every night when the liver releases stored glucose. And in adults with insulin resistance, that release runs longer and harder than it should. Your number in the morning is not entirely about what you ate for dinner. A significant part of it is about what your liver decided to do at 3 in the morning. That's why you can have a clean dinner and still wake up to a number that makes you feel like you failed. You didn't fail. Your liver is running a process that your medication was only partially designed to address. And the connection between what you do in the 2 hours before you sleep and how hard that liver release hits at 3 in the morning, that connection is real, and it's something you can actually work with. The 3 things that determine how much glucose your liver dumps overnight are how low your magnesium is running, how fragmented your sleep becomes around 2 a.m., and how much glucose is still circulating when you go to bed. Most people manage none of them, but they're all manageable. And the one I want to start with is the one that surprised me most, because the fix was already in my pantry and I'd been treating it like a treat instead of a tool. You do everything right. You eat clean, you take your pills, and the next morning that number is still too high. I know that frustration. I lived it for years. They never tell you about the morning rise, your sugar climbing while you sleep, no matter what you did the day before. You wake up, you test, and it feels like the work didn't count, like you're stuck depending on more and more and getting nowhere. I was done feeling powerless. I didn't want to throw out my doctor's plan. I wanted something natural and simple I could add to it, something that finally moved that morning number. I'll walk you through what changed it for me. And the natural support I add every day is in the free presentation linked below. Studies have documented that a significant portion of adults managing blood sugar challenges are running low on magnesium. Not dramatically low, not a number that would alarm your doctor on a standard panel. Quietly low, functionally low. And here's why that matters for your morning number. Magnesium is a cofactor for the receptors your cells use to respond to insulin. Think of it this way. Insulin is the key, your cell is the lock, and magnesium is what keeps the lock mechanism working smoothly. Without enough of it, the key still fits, but the lock stiffens. Insulin shows up, does its best, and your cells don't respond the way they should. Glucose stays in the blood longer, and when the liver releases more at 3 in the morning, there's nowhere clean for it to go. Dark chocolate, 70% cacao or higher, contains a meaningful amount of magnesium in a form your body can actually absorb. One small square at night, not a bar. 1 or 2 squares the size of your thumb. That's the intervention. Not because it's dessert, because of what's inside. But there's a second mechanism in dark chocolate that most people don't know about. Studies indicate that the specific plant compounds in dark cacao, not milk chocolate, are associated with improved insulin sensitivity in adults who consumed them regularly. These compounds appear to reduce a form of low-grade inflammation in the tissues that surround your blood vessels, and that inflammation is one of the things that makes insulin resistance worse over time. The cacao isn't curing anything, but it may be quietly supporting one of the biological systems that determines how your cells respond to the insulin you're already producing. Talk with your doctor before making any changes to your routine. This is a support, not a substitution, and your doctor needs to know what you're adding. Now here's where this becomes a system rather than just a habit. The dark chocolate addresses the magnesium and the flavanol side of the equation. But the other 2 factors, sleep fragmentation and glucose still circulating when you go to bed, need their own piece. And when all 3 are running together, the effect on the morning number is different from any one of them alone. The second piece, 10 minutes of movement after dinner. Not a workout, not a mile. 10 minutes around the block or around your living room after your last meal. Research describes a glucose transport mechanism in your muscles that activates the moment you start moving, and this mechanism works independently of insulin. It doesn't need your pancreas to cooperate. It doesn't need your cells to be sensitive. It physically pulls glucose out of your bloodstream and into your muscle tissue, activated by movement alone. What that means is, the glucose that might otherwise still be circulating at midnight, feeding the problem, gets cleared before it gets a chance to accumulate. You're arriving at the overnight window from a cleaner starting position. The third piece, protein first in the morning. Studies indicate that eating protein is the first food your stomach processes. Eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, triggers a hormone that slows how fast glucose enters your blood from everything that follows. That hormone is the same one the most expensive new diabetes medications try to mimic synthetically. Your body makes it naturally when you eat protein first. The 3 pieces work in sequence. The dark chocolate supports the overnight chemistry, the 10-minute walk clears the residual glucose before bed, and the protein-first breakfast protects the first meal of the day from becoming another spike. At 83, I still carry my own groceries. I go to my grandson's games and stay for the whole thing. I don't organize my days around my fatigue. The overnight habits I built, and they took me longer than I want to admit to figure out, are the reason I have that kind of day. Not luck. Attention. Attention to the hours nobody was watching. I want to tell you about Doris. 78 years old, retired school teacher from Georgia. 22 years managing type 2. Her fasting numbers have been sitting between 158 and 175 for months, despite doing everything her doctor asked. Watching her carbohydrates, taking her metformin twice a day, keeping her weight stable. What Doris didn't know was that her liver was running hard every night because her magnesium was on the low end of normal. Her sleep was fragmenting around 2 in the morning, and she was going to bed with glucose still circulating from a late dinner. When Doris added the 3 pieces, the dark chocolate, the 10-minute walk, the protein first morning, and worked closely with her doctor to monitor her numbers, she had a conversation at her next appointment that surprised her. Her doctor asked what she'd changed. She told him. He didn't have a full explanation for the mechanism, but the numbers were what they were. I'm not telling you Doris's story as proof. I'm telling it to you as a pattern. Think about who you've watched age in your life. The ones who kept some control over their mornings, and the ones who felt like the diagnosis was running them instead of the other way around. The difference, more often than not, wasn't the prescription. It was what they did with the hours nobody was watching. Midnight to 6, the window your body is working through while you're asleep. If you've been trying everything your doctor told you and the numbers still won't fully cooperate, this is where the missing piece usually lives. You're not too far gone for this to matter. The body doesn't lose the ability to respond to the right support. It just needs you to understand which support it needs and when. And if you've spent years doing everything right and still waking up to a number that makes you feel like you're losing, I want you to hear this. That number is not your verdict. It's information. And now you have a different place to look. If you watched this whole thing, you're not the type who gives up. You're the type who keeps looking for a real answer. So let me be straight with you. The morning number isn't your fault, and it isn't just diabetes. It's the dawn rise, and it responds to the right daily habits. The goal was never to quit your treatment. It was to support it naturally so you finally see that number move and feel in control again. Alongside the steps I showed you, I take a simple, natural support every day to help keep my blood sugar in a healthy range. Affordable, easy, and it works with my doctor's plan, not against it. The free presentation is in the description below. Go see it for yourself. And keep your doctor in the loop. This is support, not a replacement. Here's where to start. Tonight. 1 square of dark chocolate at 70% cacao or higher within an hour of bed. Tomorrow morning, eat your protein first. 2 eggs, a cup of Greek yogurt, anything with at least 20 grams of protein before your first carbohydrate. And this week, set a 10-minute timer after dinner and move. Around the house, around the block, slow is fine. That's the system. Everything I've shared today is based on real research and on paying attention to my own body for more than 60 years. It is not personal medical advice. Any change to your routine should be something you discuss with your doctor first. That's not a disclaimer. That's the intelligent starting point. If this channel has been useful to you, subscribe. There's more coming. And drop your morning number in the comments. Just the number. I read every one.